Rainy days can be difficult on your dog because they can't go outside and play, they can't get that energy out. So here are some things that I do to keep my 3 dogs occupied on those rainy days. The first is to make sure we are playing before it rains and on breaks during the rain. So if I know rain is coming and I have the ability to take them outside to play, we will go outside and play really, really hard for as long as we can before that rain is going to show up. If, however, we wake up and it's already pouring outside, that might not be a feasible option. And so we are looking for breaks in the rain, and we hope that we have some downtime during the rain that they can go out and play. It's not great because the yard is going to be very wet, but that's why we have things like rubber balls that they can play with, and we're very mindful of where they're playing to stay away from the mud, that they're not going to slide in the grass as they're playing, and that we limit how much time they are playing out there, but we want to do something to help them get the energy out. So if there's any way possible to play outside during a rainy day, we take advantage of that. Once we're back inside, I want to make sure that I'm giving my dogs an outlet for that physical energy. So one of the things I really like to do is give them a ball pit to play in. I have a collapsible children's ball pit that allows me to very easily store it, but also very easily clean it. And I'll take ball pit balls and pop them into the pool. Then what I do is take a handful of their food and sprinkle it throughout the ball so that they have to go nose their way through and find the food inside of the ball pit. Now I've done full videos on how to do this to make sure that it is actually working in your dog's favor, how to make sure you're not overfeeding your dog. So I'll link some of those down below. We've got a whole playlist on enrichment ideas, and that's a really good one for you. But the ball pit balls are really, really fun. You just have to be a little mindful if your dog is the type to try to chomp on those balls to make sure that nobody is getting hurt in the process and making sure you're not damaging those balls, which can add up to be a little expensive if you have to keep replacing them. So I like to get one set and then I'm done, and I just make sure that my dogs are not destroying them because they're preoccupied by finding the food. And once the food is all found, that is then removed from them so that they can't get into trouble with it. Relatedly, another thing that I like to do for their enrichment is to give them chewy food or chewy snacks, things that they can chomp on. And that can be a whole range of different things, but my favorite is ice because it's so easy for us to create. It's something new, it's something unique, and you can do a lot with it. So you can take their dishes and you can freeze some ice cubes in it and then just kind of let it freeze for 20-30 minutes so that they are able to crack that layer of ice, dig out the ice cubes, and still get a drink, so it helps them to stay hydrated. You can also freeze things like pieces of their dog food or their snacks in there. You can freeze fruits and vegetables in there and allow your dog to then work at that, and it gives them something to do for a prolonged period of time. It's a little loud if they're chomping on ice, and it can get a little messy. So depending on where you're doing this or how you're doing this, you're going to want to be mindful of that. I like to put my dogs in their crates and allow them to do it there, or on days that are not rainy, we'll go out on the porch and they'll be able to do it outside so that they don't get water all over the carpets in here. But that gives them something to do, and it's also a good snack. And if you freeze it in ice, that's also a lot of really great hydration for them as well. But there's so many things you can do when it comes to prolonged chewing on things. I'll give them like dental sticks that they can chew on to help their teeth. You just want to be very mindful of the things that you're buying from the store and giving them to chew because not all of that is healthy. So I would highly recommend having a conversation with your vet before you do this, and then based on their recommendations, grab some of those treats or some of those chews or some of those things and just stock them up and save them specifically for the rainy days. But I also highly recommend leaning into freezing things because that's just prolonged fun plus a snack, and it's water, so it's hydration, and it's not going to cost you a lot to do it. But I've got videos on how to do that, so I will link those for you down below as well. Now, another thing that I really like is to practice jump work inside. So I am teaching my dogs agility. I'm teaching them how to do different things. We're in the very beginning stages with my new puppies, but I've done this with past dogs as well. And it doesn't even have to be where you're setting up an agility course in your living room. I love to just have my dogs practice, and I'll sit on the floor with them and I'll just lift my legs up in the air and make them jump over for treats or toys. If you need something to help balance you, I sit facing the couch and I can put my feet right up on the edge of the couch. So I form kind of like a little jump out of my legs, and I have them jump over it to catch a treat, to chase their toys. And we can do all sorts of different things with that. So you can teach them to go over, to go under your legs. You can set things up in between two chairs. So if you want to like put a long pillow in between that, or if you want to stack up pillows and have them jump over it, there's a lot of options with things that you already have in your house. So you're not going out to buy agility equipment, or you're not constructing those things on your own. You can very easily make jumps and obstacle courses out of things you already have, including things like Amazon boxes that you haven't thrown away yet. So you can build yourself a maze, you can build yourself jumps, you can build yourself things that your dogs can play with and help with their training to listen to you. And again, we're using things like their treats, we're using things like their toys to chase to play these games, and that also helps to get a lot of energy out. And if you say those exclusively for rainy days, now it becomes novel, now it becomes interesting and unique, and so they look forward to these rainy days because they don't get to do certain activities on those nice sunny days when they can get outside. So I love getting their energy out by doing jumps especially, but working on agility things and other types of obstacle course type things that we can create inside of the house, including things like Easter egg hunts, which we've talked about before on the channel. Now, we've discussed a lot of the high energy options, but rainy days are also really good for working on your settle commands and working on naps. I very much love to make sure that my dogs are getting naps throughout the course of the day. And I am very, very specific on making sure my dogs get naps, not sleeping because they're bored or sleeping because I have things that I have to do, but I'm very clear on making sure my dogs are napping. And so on those rainy days, I am creating a cozy, quiet, calm environment, and I am making sure that they are sleeping, that they are napping. And that can mean a lot of different things. Sometimes they are laying on the couch and they're just taking naps by themselves. Sometimes they're in their crates and they're taking naps. Sometimes I have dedicated crate nap time to make sure that my dogs are always comfortable being in their crates should they ever need to be in there for a while for whatever reason. Let's say you are moving furniture in and out and they can't be going in and out the doors, or you have company over with little teeny tiny kids and you just want to make sure nobody is getting knocked over, even if your dogs are really good. There's lots of reasons your dog might need a crate, and my dogs actually really love their crates. I'll just leave it open for them and they hang out in there because that's their bedroom. That is where they have their safe space. You know, one of my dogs, Lucy, has a ton of anxiety. She's extremely similar to Jada, my previous dog, and both of them very much like their confined spaces. So having dedicated time to work on being in their crates, whether or not they're open door or closed door, is incredibly helpful. So facilitating nap time is really, really good because dogs truly are like toddlers and they need nap time throughout the course of the day. If they don't get enough sleep, you're going to pay a price for that. So even though we're trapped inside on rainy days, I make sure I am putting a heavy emphasis on breaks and on nap time. And that can be them sitting next to me, sitting across the room, sitting somewhere else. I oftentimes will also sit on the couch with them and do my work on a little table in front of me so that they can sit on either side, put their heads on my lap and cuddle with me for dedicated nap time while I am also working. Nap time is incredibly important for your dogs and for you as dog owners as well. So I highly recommend doing a little bit extra nap time, having a little stronger emphasis on that settle time on the rainy days, because it's just good practice. It's also very healthy for them. And of course, if you are going to be working throughout the course of this rainy day and you need them to be occupied, having snuffle toys and puzzles are going to be incredibly helpful for you. And there's a whole range of them. I've done some reviews on some of them, which are here on the channel. I will link some of those for you. But you want to make sure you have options for your dogs to do things. So you can have a snuffle mat where you're going to hide little pieces of their food and then just let them play with it while you are doing your work. You can have them go through different puzzles. You can do different things however you want to do this. You can hide things inside of boxes and let them kind of snuffle through those things. The goal here really is just to let them kind of figure out how to get to whatever you've hidden, be it pieces of their dog food or a special treat. Maybe you buried some toys inside of something that's a little bit bigger. You can do a lot with this to allow them to kind of root their way through it, figure it out, work on that mental capacity and problem-solving skills, and it keeps them occupied while you're doing things. So there's tons and tons of like snuffle mats and tied up mat things that you can put things in. You've got puzzles, you've got some of those like puzzle toys where you bury things inside of like Kong bones and stuff. Those are going to be really helpful depending on who your dog is and what their personality is like. And on rainy days, it's just kind of a nice special treat. And again, that can be done whenever, wherever, in a crate, out of a crate. It can be done right next to you. It can be done in a different room. It's really, really nice to kind of keep them calm and quieter while they're also doing something that's functioning, especially if they have to have something right in front of them to kind of get themselves through, be it a snuffle mat or a puzzle of some kind, because they're not going anywhere. They're not like searching around your house for these things. It's a very contained space, and it gets some of that energy out while also still kind of having some rest because they're not doing a lot of moving. Now, there are a lot of things that you can do to help your dog stay occupied during those rainy days. So we want to hear from you. Go ahead and drop your ideas down in the comments below. We are building up a community here to help each other to thrive as dog parents. So we want your input on this as well. And if you've got questions on living your best dog parent life, now it's time to drop those. We have some really cool guests coming up on the show. We've got some really fun tips and tricks for you, especially as we get into some of these warmer months. So we've got a lot of good daily content planned for you here today. We'll see you in our daily upcoming episodes.